Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Surgecast. We have a great show for you today because, hey, guess what, guys? It's playoffs time, and we're gonna have special guests such as Neil from the Devil's State of Mind. And I mean, if you haven't known by now, we're playing the Devils for the first round, of course. So get to hear his wonderful takes along with mine, the paid intern, and even Zach. I mean, would you guess? But in the meantime, when you're preparing for this playoff run, I mean, we've got a couple days before we actually get playing again. Uh, go check us out on any of our social media from Instagram to Twitter, X, the Surge, and YouTube, of course. If you're already watching us here, hi, hello. But go check us out, like, subscribe, all of those fun things. Give us a follow, interact, comment, love it. And of course, our wonderful paid intern has also got us up on TikTok at the.surgecast with our wonderful recap videos. We'll have some fun things out there all throughout playoffs. So go give us a follow, like, all of those things, and we'll see you there. Of course, it's down on the bottom of the screen if you are watching on YouTube, or it's in our link trees, of course. So you know where to find us. You also know where to find all the things for a playoff, whether you need a new jersey, a shirt, a hat, any of those fun things. I mean, playoff hattie. You might need to stock up on your hats. You never know. So go check that out at the NHL Shop. Later on in the episode, we will have a link for you to use if you want to support your favorite podcast, of course. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. We are in the part of hockey where the games don't matter and the prize is still a Stanley Cup, but that's not started yet.
None of these games matter. To anyone worrying, none of these games matter. I think the goal, because we unfortunately
Where the
saw it
game
last
isn't
year.
real and the points don't matter.
We saw it last year with Foss being injured literally in the last game of the season, and that threw things off a little bit for the Canes. So you don't want that. So between folks in Columbus being mad at the Canes to any Canes fans worrying about the performance in general, we've been playing the Devils for like a month, it feels like. So that's set in stone. We're not worrying because the big things that matter are being healthy for the playoffs and playing well in the playoffs.
But also, don't get mad at us for resting our main guys because, like, Draisaitl and McDavid have been sitting for like a month. So what we're doing is very normal and very realistic. You never rely on another team to get you into playoffs, of course. But yeah, we don't want any injuries. As I'm saying that, we are recording this currently as the Canes are playing their final 82nd game of the season, and there was a little scary moment with Jost there. So there's a reason we're sitting our top guys. But what is also fun is in this game and last night's game, we got some NHL debuts in Dominic Finsore and in Skylar Brindamore.
That we got to see some call ups from the Wolves. Nadeau came up as well while it wasn't his NHL debut. He's still getting a little bit more NHL action now, and I think Canes fans can't wait to see him full time in a Canes uniform just based on everything he's done in Chicago this year. So good to get them up, get their feet a little bit more wet with that NHL experience, keep the guys we really need on the roster a bit more rested and safe. So while the scoreboard might reflect losses overall, there's certainly wins for everyone in the organization.
Yeah, and if you have been watching the last two games of the season, I have been really impressed with Finsore. He has been, again, he's a smaller defender, but he's been really noticeable on the ice. He's very quick and he's making some very creative plays. Nadeau as well. Nadeau has done kind of like Nadeau things. I think if you get him on a roster that, has Jarvis or Aho sometime in the future, that kid's gonna be, I mean, he might give Blake a little run for his money as he goes because he's currently crushing it with the Wolves.
Yeah, people brought up the list of like prospects and dudes under like the age of 23 that the Canes have, and it's disgusting. So even as Aho ages a smidge, which he's my age, like 27, 28, right? Like same thing with the Slavin. Like they have that prospect pool just ready to refill and refresh no matter who comes in or leaves the org. So I mean, props to Eric Tulsky, the entire scouting department. Like they've been on their game for years.
Honestly, it's almost like we don't have room for all of these guys. They're so good and they're like excelling so quickly that it's like we can't get them all in the roster at one time. So it's a problem of plenty, which is not, again, we've talked about it before. It's not a terrible thing.
Which one of those plenty Canes fans have been waiting ages to hear this one. Alexander Nikishin signed. Alexander Nikishin on his way to Raleigh as we speak. He signed with the Canes last week on April 11th. Today, yesterday, whenever it was in the world, he got his U.S. visa granted, and it was announced that he's traveling to New York from overseas, then to Raleigh. So there's the potential, depending if the Canes practice on Saturday, depending on how the timeline and his flights land, that he may practice Saturday in a Carolina Hurricanes uniform. Probably won't be dressing unless there's an injury or two on the blue line, which we hope does not happen. But Alexander Nikishin is a Cane
or if
Cat.
we just need a switch up, like if something's not clicking quite right,
we need a bit more
might see a
boom.
switch up. Yeah.
Yes. How are you feeling? Because you can't tell. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Canes, yeah, I'm excited. Canes fans across the globe have to be excited about this one. The day has finally come.
I'm very excited. I wish he had been able to all that visa stuff. And you know what? I don't blame Canada for not wanting him to play against them. So they didn't grant him a Canada visa just yet. But I will say I wish he had played a couple of games with the guys so it's not so weird with them like kind of throwing into a playoff game, or even a game with the Wolves would have been nice. But I am excited to see him play. I think he will be, unlike some of the guys that get called up from the AHL where you're like, all right, it's his first game. He's got to get warmed up. I have a feeling that he's going to get, if he gets thrown in there, it's not going to be a problem. It'll be a problem for the other team.
Correct. Man's an absolute unit that's laying dudes out, has a disgusting shot for a defenseman. He is going to be a difference maker for this team. Again, you wish he got here sooner, but we ran into Eric Tulsky in the concourse at Lenovo, and essentially he said, yeah, because Scott didn't let him go soon enough. Everything got delayed. The visa got delayed, so that's why he couldn't be over here. They wanted him here like 2 weeks earlier than he was, kind of same timeline as Demidov. But for what it's worth, he's here now. He's signed. He's going to be a Carolina Hurricane, and everything else will get figured out in due time.
Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to see him because the matchups for this the Stanley Cup is kind of wild. Honestly, what's funny is the Canes, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. The Canes and the Devils is the tamest matchup there is.
For what it's worth, I know we'll be tuned into our games, but the rest of these matchups, you need
to watch the games in the West. You need to. If you're not watching Canes, you need to watch them.
The rest of these matchups are must-watch TV. I surprisingly haven't looked at the schedule yet, but I'm going to be glued in to some of these other series.
TV will be on nonstop.
Not only West Coast, Cat, Battle of Ontario too. Depends what happens there. Can Toronto get out of the first? Will they beat the hell out of each other? We'll answer to that, yes. The second one for sure,
you've got the Battle of Ontario, you got the Battle of Florida, you've got the Capitals versus the Canadiens, which is going to be a little interesting. And then the West, it's literally just them duking it out. It's the Jets versus the Blues, the team that's been on top all season versus the team that just got a resurgence in their power. You've got the Stars versus the Avalanche. It's like a telenovela writing itself. You got the Knights versus the Wild, which is that could be an underdog story for the Wild. And you got Taylor's oldest time, the Kings versus Edmonton Oilers. But the Kings are on a big heater, so it's going to be really interesting.
A lot of hockey to watch, a lot of betting responsibly to do. Promo code THPN on DraftKings. Make sure y'all are getting in and at least tuning in for sure. And we know you're going to be tuned into the Canes Devil series, which today the schedule was released, so we'll run through that real quickly. You figured
we know it's terrible times. We know that we got terrible scheduling.
Yeah, based on the matchups that Kat just read, it's unfortunately not a surprise that we got some of the worst TV times out there, but to be expected since this isn't the marquee matchup of the first round. But running through them real quick, Game 1, Sunday, April 20th at 3 p.m. Home game in Raleigh. Follow that up with Game 2, 6 p.m. Tuesday, April 22nd. I think that's probably the worst draw out of all of them. Hopefully, the next home game won't be that, depending on how the schedule.
Yeah, we'll see you for your half days that day as we tailgate in the parking lot.
Put in your PTO now if it's not too late to do so. But then we head to New Jersey, Game 3, 8 p.m. Friday, April 25th. Turn around 2 days later, Sunday, 3:30 p.m. for Game 4. And then game times for Games 5, 6, and 7 have not been released yet. But if they are needed, Game 5, Tuesday, April 29th in Raleigh. Game 6, Friday, May 2nd in New Jersey. And then Sunday, May 4th in Raleigh, if that's needed. So that's a breakdown of the schedule that we have for Canes Devils. So again, not the best times, but at least playoff hockey is here for what it's worth.
Playoff hockey is back in Raleigh, baby.
That it is. So we have a lot of people to talk playoff hockey to in this episode, don't we, Kat?
Yeah, so we're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to go ahead and go talk some hockey with Neil.
And now we want to welcome on a special guest to give us a Devil's point of view on this series. Host of the Devil's State of Mind podcast, contributor for Fansided. What doesn't this man do? Welcome in, Neil Villapiano. I almost messed up your last name.
I'm just kidding.
he almost botched it. He had.
I know it was the easiest thing too. Slam dunk. That's why I'm not. That's why you're going to broadcasting school and I'm not.
Right. Fair enough. But what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since the last time we either chatted or even talked about each other's teams in the same conversation. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we had our little bit of back and forth with the games, and then we've just kind of both been flying solo until playoffs started, and it's like, oh, we're back together.
It's been it's pretty close to 4 months since the last time these two teams even played one another. So
yeah,
this is going to be I don't know how quick. It probably won't take long for these teams to get reacclimated to one another. I think it'll happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, and both teams, while they haven't played each other in a while, have kind of been on the same trajectory the past 10 games, end of season, when the season concluded, essentially knowing we'd play each other.
Right.
Both teams kind of fell off a cliff. So what's the vibe with the fan base currently with both teams hovering around 500? Is there worry? Do people not care?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say from the Devils' perspective, I think we're kind of going into it like we don't have a lot of expectations because you look at how the year ended up. Not having Jack Hughes is huge. You can't replace a guy like him. And missing out on Siegenthaler, arguably one of the best defensemen in the league this year, again, it's really hard to replace that. And so we're going into it. We're vibing, I think, at this point. I mean, to say that we struggled down the stretch is putting it lightly. From basically the time that we played you guys the last time, honestly, which I think was December 27th, if my memory serves me correctly. We've really been struggling. We haven't been the same consistent team we were prior to that. So going into it, there isn't a ton of positive vibes. I think it's more just like, let's just see what happens and let's get it going. We're in it's the playoffs now. So we've gotten past the first step, and now we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting at the trade deadline because I think a lot of people, with how you guys were struggling and you got the news of Hughes and everything, that people were like, okay, are you going to still go in? Are you like, what is your playoff mentality? And I'm pretty sure your coach was like, oh yeah, we're still in, like we're still going for it. So I mean, as a Canes fan, I kind of remember that feeling of when we were going and Svetch got out, and it was just like that weird feeling of everyone being like, oh, your season's over. And you're like,
right.
Well, I mean, we can still be in it. So you're like, I'm going to have optimism, but I mean, I obviously am going to be aware that, yeah, we're missing an important piece. It's like nothing you ever want to happen. So I totally understand that. It's like okay, we're chugging along kind of vibe, but also we're aware of what we're missing.
And that's the way that we look at it. There have been so many games like in the last couple months where like we would get frustrated about their performance.
Mhm.
But then we would always go back to like, well, the expectations of the team changed the minute that Jack's shoulder went into the boards. Like the literal second was like, oh great, here we go again, kind of vibe. And I think we've gotten pretty tired of the media always like wanting to be like, oh, this team just like, oh, it's always the injuries. I get tired of that because I'd rather it be because the team needs to fix how they play because that's more something that you can control rather than like somebody getting hurt. You know, even Dougie like twisting his ankle, which I feel like that was essentially what happened. It was such a freak play in Dallas, and then he was out for a month and change, and that was frustrating in itself. So don't get me wrong, there are a lot of pessimistic Devils fans going into this. It's not like we're all just like, yeah, we're in the playoffs, let's do this. Some people are like, dude, we're gonna get our ass kicked. Like that's literally some people's like mindset going into it, is like, we're gonna get our ass. And I'm like, what if we just don't? What if it's a series? Are you gonna be mad about that? Like, what if we actually have success? Are people really gonna be upset about? Like, that's kind of like what it is. So it's for a lot of people, it's like if we don't get beyond you guys, if it's just we're out 5-6 games, as disappointed as we'll be, we'll also look at it like, all right, we still made the playoffs. I think there was still progress made, especially with a bunch of new guys. We got to retool the team a little bit, which I think is going to happen regardless. But a lot of positives still to take away either way.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, depending on what happens, so like you made the playoffs. You made the playoffs over teams that just fell apart this season, especially we love shake hands together, the downfall of the New York Rangers.
100%. 100%.
But listen, but both our teams is like we made playoffs, but that's almost more of a win in itself.
That's the win, right? That's
but also like you guys got back into playoffs and you've made changes with like your goalies, which has been a really good thing for you guys. Like injuries are one thing. Like it's
we have this guy now.
I love that bobblehead.
I literally just got this yesterday at our last home game. So that's why it was funny.
Great giveaway.
Oh, it's
but I mean, like, yeah, there's lots of positives for you guys. And I feel like as Canes fans, like we've done the same. Whereas because we've also had our ups and downs this season for sure. And times when it's down, it's like, guys, look at where we are and what we've done with a year that everyone thought was our retooling year. And a lot of people thought we weren't going to make playoffs at all. And it's like, look at all that we've done. So like, yeah, the expectations are different, but there's so much positives that it's not like a big negative thing. And again, if you look at all the teams that were supposed to make playoffs and that didn't, it's another little like win for yourself. You're like, oh, look at that positive. You know what? I don't know what we're going to go from here, but that's a positive in itself.
I mean, every American Original Six team didn't even make the playoffs, which has never happened until this year. So I think that's also another win in itself. I mean, it's been a really crazy up and down year for everybody. But now we get into the good stuff, right? We get into the playoffs. Unless you're like certain teams that don't get to play till like Tuesday of next week, which again I don't get. I don't get the logic behind that, and it is what it is.
Such a long break. That's wild.
Well, the NHL wants certain things to happen, and so they're going to make the schedule be what it's going to be. So it's fine.
And now, Neil, you touched on a little bit the optimism that exists with some Devils fans. On your standpoint, what do you see as some of the strengths for the Devils? Some of those things that could potentially lead to a Devils series win, or at least to make it competitive.
I like that you started with like if they win. I appreciated that optimism yourself. But I think to put it simply, it's going to be defense and goaltending. I think are the biggest strengths of this team. Our penalty kill has been one of the better kills in the league all year. And you actually got to give Sheldon Keefe a lot of credit because he came in his first year and kind of revamped how we play defense. We really try not to allow a lot of shots. Which you'll probably see a lot of that in the playoffs. I mean, you're going to see that anyway. Not a lot of teams are going to put up a ton of shots. And then you talk about goaltending. That was always going to be a big fix for us in the offseason. And we wanted Jacob Markstrom. We acknowledged that he was our guy. And we went out and we got him. And other than obviously getting hurt and then kind of struggling when he got back, but then reclaiming his game, it's been great. It's really been a breath of fresh air to have a guy like that in your foxhole. Jake Allen has been nothing short of tremendous as a backup. And even Nico Dawes, who played a little bit, young goaltender, helped the team out tremendously. So, yeah. And then, the power play is still very effective. Still one of the better ones in the league as well. And Jeremy Colleton, who came in as an assistant coach, he revamped the power play. I don't know. I'm not as analytically advanced to tell you what exactly he did to basically turn it around. But even when Jack went out, the Devils' power play was still very effective. Like, that was kind of the crazy thing about it. So I think it's going to be special teams, defense, and goaltending. That's going to be the key for the Devils in order to win. A lot of games have to be low scoring because the Devils are going to struggle at times with finding the back of the net. But right now, our top guys are the guys that are leading us. Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, guys like that are finding ways. And if the Devils can get a little bit of depth scoring, not expecting a lot, they can upset anybody. And I think that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people are looking at. And I think the Devils can get one game in Carolina. I don't know what game that would be, 1-3, whatever. I think that is the thing that will get the Devils team as a whole to be like, we can make this a series, because we know how difficult it's been, not just in the playoffs, but in general, to play in Carolina on the road.
So if you're going to say that's your strengths, what would you say are, I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit where you said you would struggle to find the back of the net. What would you say are the biggest weaknesses for the Devils?
Not having Jack Hughes, for sure. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to pretend like it's not a thing. Yeah, not having Jack Hughes in the line. And I know that Jack wants to be there. Jack fought tooth and nail before deciding to get surgery. He really thought that he could come back from that, which he can't physically. But depth scoring, because if the top guys are not scoring, you can't really rely on the bottom six to help out very much. I mean, Tomas Tatar, Daniel Sprong, not really doing it. Cody Glass is probably the only guy and he's been a kind of a surprise, a pleasant surprise since we acquired him at the deadline. Paul Cotter, but you're going to see a lot more of Cotter trying to be physical. Maybe not do things like he did against the Islanders a couple days ago. That would be nice that he didn't.
Is he going to be back for the
He'll be back for game one. They suspended him 2 games. They basically told him, take the rest of the regular season off, and then you can play in the playoffs. That's basically what they told him. Nate Bastian, not expecting much. So, yeah, like it's going to be, if the Devils are really, like if Kochetkov or whomever is in net is just playing super well, which very well could happen, and the top guys are not scoring, it's very hard to see anybody else finding the back of the net. And there's only so much that Jacob Markstrom can do. And they may lose a game 1-0 because they just can't find they're not finding the back of the net. So I think that's the biggest weakness, is depth scoring for sure.
Oh, I feel that losing 1-0, unable to score, that just, I think every Canes fan listening just shuddered at the thought.
Depth scoring is such a scary topic for certain teams to bring up.
Well, and like it's interesting because it's, again, I will always say this, there's a lot of skill, like, and every team has skill, and every team you can go on their runs of scoring and you're like, wow, they're just on top of that. One guy cannot be stopped. But I will stand on it that there's always a bit of puck luck with it as well. Like some guys, again, can throw the whole kitchen sink at the net. And like, not even, sometimes it might not even be you got goalied. It's like you hit the post like 3 times and you're like, or like you miss a wide open net, and like, it's just those little things. And you're like, why? This is my great scorer. Why can't he score? And you're just like, that's the puck luck of the night. Like sometimes he's gripping the stick too tight. Sometimes the hockey god said, no.
You say that's the thing. There's been times where, look, we had we were the second most shutout team in the league this year. And that right there is a clear like sign of like there's a depth scoring issue. And you couldn't have said that in December. You couldn't have said that because everybody was scoring at that point. But the issues of the team were kind of still were there. It just was glossed over because everybody was just playing at such a high level at that time. So now that it's become more obvious and this is who we are this year, going into it, you just try not to expect a lot from them because they really haven't given you a lot. And, again, anybody can step up in the playoffs. It's always the unlikely guys that end up being the ones that surprise you. But, it's hard. I would say, honestly, if you can frustrate the top guys on the Devils, the rest of the team is going to have the issues as well. That's the way I see it. And having Sheldon Keefe, look, say what you want. I know the lack of success the man had in the toughest job in the NHL in coaching Toronto. I wonder to myself if he's going to do anything differently than what he's done in the past. I mean, he probably will. It's just unfair. Just unfair from the Devils standpoint that we are not at full strength, because we would be that much more excited to play you guys or to play whomever if we were at full strength. And that's kind of a hard thing to be like. If we get knocked out in 5, we'll constantly be like, well, we didn't have Jack. It's always like saying something like that. You know what I mean? It's like.
That was us with Svetch at one point, so I understand.
So. And then to flip the page a little bit, who are you keeping an eye out for here on the Canes? Are there a couple of guys you're keeping an eye out for? Is it the system itself? From a Devils standpoint, who's really caught your eye on Carolina?
I mean, first and foremost, I've been a huge fan of Rob Brind'Amour. His system is just awesome. I don't like the things that I've heard about, like, well, this is why Jay Gensel didn't want to be there long term. This is why Mikko Rantanen. It's because of Rob Brind'Amour. And I'm like,
It's never because of Rod. It's never because of Rod.
It's not because of Rod, because, look, ever since I saw that picture of him in the bubble looking like an absolute unit, I was like, yeah, this is definitely a top tier head coach in the league. But in terms of players, Sebastian Aho is always going to stand out to me. I know from a points perspective, you can say he had a down year, but he's still a really talented player and a really dangerous player in his own right. Again, Svechnikov always stands out to me. Stankoven, I mean, shoot, he came into Carolina and was like, I can fit in with this system, literally no problem. And to me, the biggest thing I'm looking at from our perspective is goaltending, because if we can find a few holes left and right, that's kind of the big thing that would give us sort of that advantage of, like, if we can find the loopholes in whatever the struggles are in goaltending, that could be the one thing that could have us be able to upset you guys. So I think that's really what I'm looking for. And also, just playing in Carolina already makes me nervous, because we know how difficult it is to play in that arena, and how much the fans come out, and support the Hurricanes, which I respect. I've also had nightmares since like 2006 at this point of playing the Hurricanes. Cam Ward gives me nightmares till this day. Not a huge Cam Ward fan. But yeah, no, those are some of the couple guys. And Brent Burns always freaks me out, just because I know that he could literally hurt someone with how physical he can be. And Jacob Slavin, I'm glad that Jacob Slavin got his flowers in the Four Nations with how good he is, because he's always been that way. There's not it's like people have been living under a rock. The man's always played this way.
I know. I love it now when broadcasts now bring it up. They bring it up more, and they're like, yeah, he did really well at the Four Nations, and now people are taking more notice of him. And they will admit, they're like, well, he's always been this way, but he definitely got his credit at the Four Nations. And everyone's like, we know. We all know.
It was the same thing like when Bratt had a really good tournament for Sweden, and everyone's like, wow, this guy's really dynamic. And then they ranked him as one of the 5 best skaters in the league. And I'm like, we've been knowing this. Why do you think we have a hashtag that says Jesper Bratt is the best player in the NHL as a joke? But we always tweet it because we're like, we know how good he is. We've known for years that he's this talented. So it has to be on a different stage. It has to be on a world stage. But those are some of the things, guys, that really stand out to me. It's the system too. The system is the big thing. It's just the fact that like the Hurricanes play their system to a T.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never like, oh, they're not trusting of it or a little bit, or it's like no, everybody knows how to play it, what they need to do, and they just have to go out and execute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny if Slavin hadn't played his normal ways, I think even Jarvis would have gotten some recognition with the Four Nations because he definitely had a moment where he almost probably could have scored and Slavin stopped it. It was like, dang, Slavin, you stopped everyone from talking about Seth Jarvis more. But I will take the win on both sides. It was funny they put over to Seth at that moment. You could just see him being like, dang. And he'd already talked previously that he didn't want to go against Slavin, so it was even funnier.
And I'm glad that he's going to be a part of that second season of that.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Is it only him though? Like I feel like he was the only one announced, and no one else was mentioned.
Brady Tkachuk was also announced. I think they might have announced a few more. Okay. It was really weird how they did season 1, but I've seen what I believe were the Amazon crews following him at numerous games. Yeah. So it's good that hopefully it's a little bit different than how it was presented and produced for season 1.
I'm excited. I really liked the first season, so I'm excited to see that. So yeah, I mean, there's, look, I'm ready for it. The only way the Devils are going to get anywhere close to winning a Stanley Cup, whether it's this year or years to come, we're gonna have to go through Carolina. Like I haven't imagined a time where like the Devils like didn't have to play Carolina and then potentially Washington.
We've had those moments where we were like, we're going to go through Boston again. Oh, we've got to go through the Rangers again. And, by luck have it, they took themselves out this year, which was every Canes dream. But yeah, so what's funny is some of the players you said you were looking out for, I'm sure some Canes fans are like, oh, other teams take notice of them. They're not really on our like playing at the top of their tier, but again, Stank, I'm so excited about him. Literally, we said, hey, we have Seth Jarvis. Can we make a copy of him? And we said, sure, here's Stank. And it's been great. He's only played, like, he didn't get to play the whole season with us, so I can't wait for a full season with him. But if we're talking about paid intern, if you want me to go ahead with this, if we're going to talk about any players from the Devils that I think Canes fans should keep an eye on, your goaltending is definitely one. I think you have a really strong, with Markstrom, a really strong goaltending pair. We've definitely struggled against him in the past. If you go through defense, familiar faces, but for different reasons. Pesci knows our system and can be a very good shutdown defender. I will say from years of having him on our team, I haven't kept up with him as much on your guys' team since he's been there, but for a while, like I ranked him right behind Slavin as our top shutdown defender. And so
he's number 2 for us. Well, he's 1 now because Siegenthaler's out, but he's been that good. And also like interacting with his dad, who by the way is just
absolute best.
He is something to talk to. He's really funny. He's actually really funny to talk to. But yeah, no, Pesci's been great. I've not complained about him once. Him being paired with Luke Hughes was the best thing that happened for Luke Hughes defensively, for sure.
That's why. So yeah, I would, with us, that's kind of how, when he was with Shea, it's kind of that thing. Him and Slavin always gave their partners such an edge because it gave their partners such freedom knowing they had that coverage. And anytime people were like, when they did complain about him, they said he missed something. And I'm like, listen, that man sees a lot of time on the ice and does a lot of shutdown defense. If he has one gap, that's because look how much he's playing. Look how much he has to do. I mean, his assignment with us for a while was stopping Ovechkin. So it's like, good luck. But with him, you mentioned Hamilton is back. He's playing the last game of the season for you guys. So, I mean, that's a guy that can definitely, he's got the shots going. So
it's just a shot, Pat. You know it. It's just a shot. There's nothing else to talk about.
That's why I said for different reasons.
My man wants to be a forward at times so freaking bad. It's not even funny.
Listen, anyone that's paired with Slavin, we know what they're really there for. Okay, we know. So when they move on, we also know.
In New Jersey, whenever Dougie like brings the play up himself, my buddy always yells, "Oh, he's going rogue. He's going rogue, and we just call him Douglas when he makes a mistake. So if he screws up, he's just Douglas to us. So
That's fine. We just when we do it, it's Burns, and typically we just drop an octave, and I go from Burns to Burns. So
well, he played half of his career as a forward. To be fair,
yes,
he was
yes,
forward at heart.
And I'd say the last two to finish up this list is I do think so. Hughes is typically normally one, but since he's out, Heischer is one that is very skilled. I would say a lot of Canes fans should keep an eye out when he has the puck on his stick. And then and Bratt. I would say Bratt and Heischer are the two in the top that I would be watching if they have the puck.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys definitely you have threats and a lot that we're familiar with and how they play, but also they're familiar in how we play, so it can be kind of a two-edged sword there.
I think it's more of the latter there because of just like a lot of people know each other, know how tendencies. I always said the funniest thing that came out of Nason coming back to New Jersey.
I even forgot Nason. The net front present king.
he had a really great year. Like a year that none of us expected out of him. We really like when we signed him, we were like nostalgia. Also, how what is he gonna we were thinking bottom six. He became a top six forward with us as the most shocking thing I've ever seen. It's just funny because someone sent me the clip from 2 years ago of Nason and Holla fighting, and I'm like, did they just make amends after?
That was our question. Everyone was like, Holla's gonna go over there, and everyone was like, I'm expecting the news of Nason going over there and Holla being like, all right, I'm going to another team. Bye.
So there was actually a funny thing that happened. It was the first day of training camp. They faked the fight. They literally faked the fight. It was the funniest thing. It was Holla threw a fake swing and Nason turtled. It literally everyone was laughing. So it was basically that's how you shake it up. So it's really interesting. And also Holla with the media has been so much fun this year. He tells it like it is, which is
I know. All Canes fans, we can't wait to see what he has to say during playoffs because we know it's going to be brought up.
I think he'd be smart to not say anything. I think Sheldon should just tell him, "Don't speak, don't talk."
No, but that's what he always does. He makes the bracelets, he does all of that, and then people ask why we don't like him, and it's like, well, when you pour gasoline on the fire, are you surprised the fire gets bigger?
Yeah. I think, and I'll just say this real quick, that the biggest X factor I think for the Devils actually is Timo Meier, because if you remember 2 years ago, Kat, he didn't score his first goal till game 3 against Carolina. He had a tough series against the Rangers. He had that he got absolutely destroyed by Jacob Trouba. There's no other way to put that.
Trouba destroys everyone. We understand.
Exactly, and he's only started getting going right at the end of the second round against you guys. So if he can step up, which he really has over the last month and change, that just creates another big thing emotionally for that team, because I think they look to him as a guy that needs to put the puck consistently in the back of the net. So that's the guy that I look for, in terms of being an X factor. Who's the guy that really needs to step up? I would say it's probably Timo Meier.
Okay.
Well done.
I could give one from Carolina too if you'd like. I don't know if you'd like me to give an X factor for you guys.
What do you think is our X factor?
I definitely think it's Stankoven.
Over Jarvis?
And it's not because I don't think Jarvis will step up. I think he will. But it's also it's to be expected from Seth Jarvis. I think it's more. We
haven't seen the best of Stankoven yet.
Right. It's I think that there's another level that he can get to. And look, we saw it in the playoffs last year with Dallas. This kid can do it. So I think it's I think he's a guy that if he gets going as with other the top guys, the Devils are going to be that much more overwhelmed, because it's it's somebody that we haven't really seen very much of. We hadn't seen him at all because he got traded at the deadline, and we haven't played you guys since December. So it's kind of that's a guy that you have to figure out.
You guys haven't experienced Stink and Jank yet.
Well, that was the funniest thing when they were both. It's the Steak and Jank era. I was like, but you haven't experienced top goal scorer Cody Glass. So I'm telling you right now, Cody Glass with his tinted visor only because he has to. which fun fact, he has to wear it because he had concussions when he was younger. So he has to
Aw.
wear it because of the light. Because Biz was getting on him, like, yo, why are you wearing the tinted visor? You think you're hot stuff? And he's like, no, it's because I had several concussions and the light hurts my eyes. And
Well,
Biz is
glad.
like a total loser. It's like, oh, damn, well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, glad I know that ahead of time, or else I would have tripped him too.
Cody Glass is, he's a time. He's such a good person, and maybe you'll get to see, and we'll see if Mrs. Fields can bring us a little luck down the stretch here, because Lord knows we need it.
Well, we've gone from Mrs. Fields to X Factors to strengths and weaknesses. So the big question, Neil, that's on everyone's mind: predictions for the series. What do you got? Whose side are you on?
Well, I mean,
Whose side are you on?
It's like, just like, whose side am I on, right? It's like, who do I want to
lose subscribers?
It's like, who do I want to piss off more? Like, let's think about that for a second. No, I talked about it earlier today when I was talking on a Flames podcast. I said, and I hyped it up. Well, I made it seem like that it was like I was definitely going to pick the opposite way, but I decided to go ballsy. I said I picked the Devils in 7. That's my prediction. I think that I don't think it's from Carolina's fans because they haven't really said. I mean, granted, I haven't seen a whole lot, but like I think that the Devils are getting unfairly doubted, even by their own fan base. It's like it's not like we don't still have talent on the team. Like, yeah, not having Jack sucks, but other guys have stepped up. And I said to everybody, I said it takes one win on the road to completely change the series. They win one game. If they win game 1, just give it as an example, the entire mindset of everybody changes. It's like, oh, maybe this is not going to be a sweep or just get knocked out in 5. Maybe this is going to go a lot further than we think. So I think that's really kind of where it is. So yeah, I'm gonna go with my boys in 7 games. I can't. I covered the team. I can't just be like, nah, screw that. We suck. We ain't gonna do anything. So that's gonna be my prediction. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
What was our regular series
2-2.
with them?
It was 2-2.
2-2.
Nobody won a game on the road. You guys didn't win either game in New Jersey. We didn't win either game in Carolina. So there's the factor right there, isn't it? Laying at home ice is the factor. It's someone getting into a fight, which we all know is going to happen at some point.
No, yeah. If you have Hala on your team, yeah, probably most likely. But honestly,
Dylan as well. Dylan's going to go find someone.
I can see that. So here's my prediction, and this is not
we're doing this now.
Oh, did you not want my prediction now?
No, we got to recap what's going on with Neil. We got to save it for later in the episode.
Okay. I'll save it.
When I'm not here.
I'll save it.
Like Cat could go like double. So then Cat could say, "All right, he's gone. Canes in 4."
Well, yeah, wild guess. She's picking the Canes. I'm sure I could tell.
But what side am I on?
Yeah, what side do you want to piss off? That's how it always goes. It's
I don't
like,
want to piss off a side. I just want to piss off PK Subban. That's all that matters.
Valid, totally valid. There's time. Like we all saw the clip and we were like, look, we're all for the support of the Devils, but Hurricanes are somehow the worst team in the playoffs. I'm sorry, where are they in the standings? It's all because I know what it's from. It's all because Gensel didn't. I've literally heard it a million times because Gensel didn't stay long term, and then Rantanen didn't stay long term,
which are very different. Which we've talked about before. Very different cases, very different players. I'm not gonna let my blood pressure rise talking about Mikko Rantanen anymore. Go Avalanche.
Well, actually, I'll give you guys some insight. I picked the Avs in 6 for that series.
Okay, good.
My biggest upset is I have the Jets losing to St. Louis. I mean, I wouldn't want to
that president's curse, man. It's real.
It took for the Rangers. It unfortunately had to be in the conference finals, but at least they didn't get to the finals, which is the most important thing.
That's what we all root for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Neil picked Devils in 7. Go crazy on them, Canes fans, if you want.
It's fun.
But
No,
if you
this is the nicest Devils fan you'll meet. Do not. Me and Zach will stand up for him at any time. Only we can give him a hard time.
Only Cat can come on a random stream and yell at me.
Yes. Hey, well, Kyle invites me. All right, Kyle gives me the heads up.
No, because Kyle goes, "Oh, you guys have to do the series together." I'm like, you just like want people's feelings to get hurt. He goes, "Yes."
You know the Elmo meme where it's like Elmo and there's fire all around him,
Yeah.
or that meme of the girl like there's the fire of the house,
right? And she's smiling.
Yeah, that's Kyle because his own flames go up in flames, so he just incites chaos other places.
He's really looking forward to it, and I'll be live on our on THPN's YouTube channel for Game 1. I think we're also going to do Game 2. I'm going to try to do as many as I can, unless I end up going to one of the games. Truth be told, like if I end up going to Game 3 or 4, sorry,
we might join you for one of the games if you're not at it in Jersey. We'll be at the games here.
I figured you guys were going to be at the game. I would be surprised if you were like, "No, we're not." Like,
no,
why?
We do the live.
Come on, $74 plus fees. Come on, that's a steal in my opinion. And by the way, I love that the Canes are continuing the no one without a North Carolina zip code can buy tickets. I think that's great. And what's really funny is
don't spread misinformation. It's the Canes get first dibs, but then they open it up to everyone. It's not
really?
Don't spread misinformation.
I didn't know it was misinformation. I thought I was just told things.
Well, for Canes fans that are listening, they obviously know. But if any Devils fan is also tuning in for Neil, so typically what they do it for a lot of teams, not just the Canes, but they really want that home ice advantage to be a big home ice advantage. So they put out the tickets and they make availability for the tickets for fans here first.
Correct.
And then they'll make it more widely available. And there's other ways to buy tickets rather than just that way. So like, it's not like we take away, we're like no other fan can get there, but like you get home ice for a reason. So I would not think like Canes fans would be overwhelming in the Devils arena. And it's so like everyone that says it's a big deal, it's like, well, it's home ice. Like if you're a away fan and you really want to get tickets, you're going to get tickets.
Right.
But the home, like any home team is going to get first dibs. Like that's just common sense for everyone.
That's kind of the attitude I took when I first like saw like whatever was. I was like, okay. Why does that shot? I was like, why does that bother people? Like I remember Ranger fans
because they like to complain about what we do, Neil. They like to complain about everything we do
because they hate. It's the classic. They hate us because they ain't us type of thing. It's like.
Neil, we don't do any moves at the trade deadline, and everyone's like, "Man, the Canes really didn't do anything. They're going to hit those same struggles." And then we do trade moves, and everyone's like, "Well, that was a backfire. Why'd you do that?" And you're like, "What do you want from us?"
I'll never forget. Like people are like, "Oh, who was the biggest disappointment at the deadline?" And then someone said, "Like, oh, the Hurricanes." Like, why? It's because they didn't get John Gibson. I was like, nobody gets John Gibson. At this
don't
point.
bring up John Gibson to Zach. He was the most anti-John Gibson person ever. But
he wrote an article about it.
Before Mikko Rantanen gets brought up another time on this episode, Neil, thank you so much for jumping on. We appreciate all the insight. Make sure you're checking him out on Devil's State of Mind and all the stuff he's putting out for THPN. So we appreciate the conversation, Neil.
Thank you so much. I'll have my own preview of the series coming out Saturday afternoon. I have one of the newest Hurricanes podcasts on our network, Sound the Siren guys. They literally just joined. We are going to be on together previewing that series. So looking forward to that. Kat will probably jump in because she'll find the stream and then just sit there and wait to say something.
Yell at Neil.
Just yell at me. But no, thank you guys for having me on. This was, as always, like a lot of fun. And may the best team win. That's all I can say, right? It's just like let's get it on. I really hate that it's on Sunday. I'm going to continue to say that till the cows come home. I mean, really, I just want it to be Sunday. I just want to get it going because the last couple of games were hard to get through when nobody was trying.
Yes. Oh, Honestly, it's been a struggle the last couple of games, and you're like, all right, guys aren't trying, guys are sitting.
I was really rooting for you guys yesterday. I was like, how about we let the Blue Jackets in? What do you say? Mine doesn't have to be
we're gonna have to let you go because otherwise you're gonna get started on now Blue Jacket fans don't like us because apparently we sabotage.
They're like, excuse.
Conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you check Neil out. Appreciate it. Talk with you soon.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks again for Neil jumping on, getting that Devils point of view on the series. Thank you for staying on to listen to. I'm sure after you heard Devils in 7, you wanted to hit pause, get out of the episode, but we're back in reality, back in Caniac Nation land. So we are
back
here.
In our bias.
Yeah, year of optimism, Kat. That is what it is. But what were your takeaways from the conversation with Neil in terms of some of the X factors? Were you surprised by anything he said, both on the Devil side, Kane side? What were we thinking? I was shocked by Brent Burns.
I was shocked. So 2 that he mentioned, and it's funny because so the 2 that he mentioned that I was shocked by a little bit was Fetch, because Fetch has had kind of a year. Like most Canes fans want more from him. They want him to be the X factor that people are worried about, but he hasn't been. And then I'm also surprised by Brent Burns. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a respect thing, and also the way Brent Burns has played in the past. Like the last time we played the Devils in the playoffs, like it's just a different, like this season is a different Brent Burns, unfortunately. So he can be if people think he's the X factor, I think it's considering how he's been before. But I wouldn't put him as an X factor. I mean, honestly, if we're going to say a defense is an X factor,
Jacob Slavin. I mean, the talk of the show, the talk of the town. Obviously.
The talk of the town, but like that's like, again, like we said, like that's how he normally does. If anything, Canes fans are going to say the X factor might be if Nikishin comes in and totally changes the tide. Like that'll be the big thing. I do think I am really interested to see, like with Stankoven, if he reaches another level. I think he's played really well. I think, Canes fans haven't seen him probably at his full potential. So I do look forward to seeing how he does in playoffs. But I think really for X factors for the Canes in playoffs is going to be a lot of the veterans. Because the kids have kind of stood out. The younger guys have stood out all season. But I mean, consistently, like Carrier, we need him to be in there. He's healthy. He knows how to play, be physical, get the job done. And the consistency of like Martinook and Stahl. Like Martinook has showed out in playoffs before, but like they just do the work. Like at a time where you can get really ruffled with how the game's going in playoffs, like the emotions are high. It's a very physical game. They just play so consistency that their tone can kind of level out the rest of the guys. Like, I mean, think about it. It's Blake's first playoff. Stank's in it, but like Stank has, like, he's still really young. Jarvis has kind of mellowed into it a little bit too, but I think it'll just relax everyone to have the people that are so, like our captains, be so level-headed about it. Like this, like he said, we know our system. When we play our system, we play really well. So that's my thought. I think Jarvis, like he said, I don't know if Jarvis will be an X factor. I think he's just going to do Jarvis things. Blake will definitely be an X factor because that kid is not scared of anything. And I don't think his potential just keeps going. And in playoffs, he's going to run with it.
JB is going to be so good. And we've talked about it before, Kat, like off air. Like when he bulks up, he's going to be incredible because he's gotten the shit beat out of him this season. And he just bounces back every single time.
He's a small boy. He just needs a little bit more time with Billy.
A little bit more time with Billy, a couple GTL lefts with Jarvion Glenwood too. Once he gets that invite.
So I think, and if we're going to talk about key factors, the key factors is, again, honestly, it's the main thing for the Canes is just playing your game. The recent breakdowns on our games where we've struggled or we've had more goals against us, like the back-to-back goals, is our defense gets in its head and we don't play our system. Like we get out of sorts. We're not marking up. We're not playing our man-to-man. And so if they play the system that Rod has set forth, it's really hard to break. And like some people will say that's like a double-edged sword because it'd be like, okay, but that's not helping us in the scoring process. But honestly, we've also shown this season that like scoring can happen. It's the defense breakdown that you don't want. And that doesn't, this season we've had more of it than normal, but we've also had different guys and guys that are getting older. And it's been a weird mix. So I think if the key factor for the Canes is to play their system to a T, because when they do that, they frustrate teams. They work so well together up and down the ice that like you can't, like we run the neutral, we defend the defensive zone really well. We run the neutral zone, and then we're all over the other team when we're in the offensive zone, and it's just smothering. And that can really, like, especially for the Devils, I think that can overwhelm them at times. They try to use their speed to break through us, but now we've got like Chatty and even Slavin, and like they're all so fast that they're ready to keep up with these guys if need be.
And kind of jumping off of that too, I think the biggest X factor, while not a player, is not playing from behind.
Yeah.
Because anytime they do that, it doesn't matter if it's a good team that they're playing, doesn't matter if it's a bad team that they're playing, that kills their game. And especially that and giving up goals last second in a period, those two, for whatever reason, just demoralize this team.
That's
so like
when
you
the
said, you're
system
able to
breaks
play
down.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're able to play the system, not have a breakdown, the Canes play Canes hockey. We'll touch on that with Zach later in the episode. Like that is just what needs to be done. Not just this series, the entire playoffs, truly, for the Canes.
And of course the tried and true for playoffs, the special teams have to be a thing. We've got the penalty kill down. We have learned that it is in our DNA as Canes, but we need our power play to start being a power play. It's been on the up, but it's also been on the down. And then you just need your goalies to be hot, and that can, I mean, we all remember Bob. It's if your goalies get hot or not.
That's a X factor and question mark for both of them. If either or both Piotr or
Honestly,
Freddie
for
are
every
playing their
team.
game,
For
yeah,
every team, it's a question mark.
yeah.
Like that's the start of playoffs. That's the two things you're like, all right, have we checked these boxes to start playoffs?
Well, I mean, we talked about it even when we were talking about maybe the Canes training for a goaltender too. Like outside of Hellebuck, like no one's really had that season. So like it'll be interesting to watch throughout the entire league who rises to the occasion, who maybe falls off, who is playing their best
I mean,
hockey
if you
in
think
April,
about
May,
it,
June.
yeah, if you think about it, again, kind of celebrating it, dancing on the graves are layer of like the Bruins and the Rangers, but they have two of the top goaltenders in the league, and they're not in. So
That
interesting.
I want to look this up now, so don't mind me. But in terms of highest paid goaltenders, where both of them fall, because I don't know that off the top of my head, but hopefully through the power of Puckpedia, I can find that pretty quickly.
While you're looking that
Because
up, do you want me to tell you what I think my prediction is for the series?
I think I've got it.
Okay.
Because, okay, so Igor got extended at the beginning of the season, essentially, or very early on during the season. So this one isn't accurate yet of his extension. Let me see if I can find next cap hit. So Igor will be at 11.5 million, which makes him the highest paid goalie in hockey. And then Swayman's is 8.25 mil, sixth highest. So like you said, some of the highest paid goalies in hockey aren't even playing in the postseason. So it's just part of it's a team, but like even if you have a highly paid goaltender, that doesn't mean playoffs. So who knows? Hopefully $2 million Piotr shows out and everything's working well for the Canes. But yeah, Kat, we can definitely transition now into.
How can I say it?
Yes. Give me those predictions. What do you have? Canes, Devils. Who do you have winning this round one matchup?
Okay. I have the Canes. Shocker. I know.
Wow.
I have the Canes. And I have them in 5.
Okay.
I have them in 5. I think they'll drop a game. And whether the Devils, it'll be interesting because if it's a game that they steal, that the Devils still at home, that could change things. But I think they might drop a game. They might drop it. They didn't win a game at the Devils this season. But the reason I'm saying Canes in 5 is because the Canes I saw that played the Washington Capitals is not the Canes the Devils saw earlier this year. We were very dominant when we won at home against them, and that wasn't even the Canes currently or the Canes at the top of their game. So it's not a question to the Devils. It's not any slight to them at all. I think the Canes just have an extra level to them, and especially it's a level that the Devils haven't seen. And the Devils are missing, again, Hughes is a big thing. But also with what Neil said about their lacking of depth scoring, that's not a Canes issue. The Canes can score. I mean, hello, Mark Jankowski. So I think that's going to be harder on the Devils because they're not like, you can try to stop that top line of Aho, Jarvis, and Blake. But the rest of the guys, I mean, if you have KK, Hall, and Svech back together, or Roslovic back together, or Svech, I don't know what the lines are going to be. But even our fourth line is disgusting, like very disgusting. So I think the Canes in this meetup have more in the tank than the Devils. It's not based on do the Devils have skill. I think the Canes have more in their lineup and more in the tank than the Devils do.
Yeah, and you brought it up, Kat. No one winning on the road, and a part of that, though, that was a weird stretch, right when the Canes started to fall off a cliff a little bit. They started red hot, then they fell off a cliff right after that back-to-back with Florida. And that's around the time we played the Devils. And then we had those weird games around Christmas, too, where we played back-to-back against New Jersey as well. But there's that bad loss to Nashville in there. So it's a completely different Canes team than what will be taking the ice this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Different.
for what it's worth, if anyone cares about my opinion, I also have Canes on 5. The Canes just haven't played. Yeah, for the two people asking, the Canes haven't played well on the road, so I think games 3 or 4 they drop. But they typically play extremely well at home, so I think the home ice helps them a ton. And the 1-5. But you've heard from Neil, you've heard from us. Now we'll be able to throw it over to a guest of the show, Zach, coming up in a second. I will also throw it over to some ads as well. So we'll take you on to the next segment of the show. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Here's something special for first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. The NHL playoffs are here, and the NHL Shop has you covered. Isn't that right, Kat?
It is. All the playoff gear is here and available as you want to support your favorite team, the Canes, in their playoff run. So if you're going to go check it out, whether it's from shirts, you want to pick up that jersey to rep your favorite player in the postseason, go check it out at the NHL Shop using our link. You want to support your favorite team. You also want to support your favorite podcast, and we really appreciate it. So guys, go get your all your playoff needs and goods and all of the above, whether it's for you or presents for other people. Go get it at the NHL Shop using our link.
Make sure you check that out. That link, nhlshop.75j.net/JEZ6B6. Welcome in as we have a guest of the program, technically today, with Zach jumping on for a little bit. The schedules are crazy with the playoffs going on. So having Zach join us, it's Wednesday, April 16th when we're recording. So if things change between now and the release of this episode, we apologize, but we're trying to get everyone's thoughts on this Devils Canes series. So Zach, how you doing? What do we think is going to happen here?
No, I appreciate it. It's weird being a guest on your own show, but yeah, schedule's crazy for all of us because you know how it is, podcasting and of course, beat writing and all that stuff. It gets a little nuts when you're trying to like do this, that, and the other. So it's kind of crazy. But no, it's good. We're finally here, ready to talk some playoffs, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Rich, how are you doing?
Doing good. And like you said, the playoffs are here, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And specifically the first round, we've known for a little bit that it's going to be Canes Devils here in the first round, which is a little bit of a lower level profile series compared to some of the other first round matchups that we have.
Yeah.
But talking Canes Devils, Zach, what do we got for some of the key players? Some of your thoughts on the series itself, advantages the Canes have, maybe something you're worried about, if any, for the Canes. Well, what do we think about the series from the Canes standpoint?
Well, I know from the series standpoint, when you look at it, it's interesting when you look at this aspect of, what are the main key things? And I've talked about it a good bit, is the two things you really need to get going is your power play and winning on the road. Thing for the Canes is, as of going into the game against Montreal, whenever this gets released, we know that the record's going to be a little bit different, but they're 16, 19, and 4. Not the greatest when you're going on the road, especially when you got to go win in the playoffs, and they're 25th on the power play. However, the Devils are a very middle of the road, 19, 16, and I think 4 or 3 or somewhere in there for their home record. So the Devils aren't good at home. So the Hurricanes might have a shot of using that to their advantage, even on the road, because the good thing for them is, for Carolina, you're talking about 31-9 and 1 at home, but the Devils are a more of a road warrior type of team. So I think they've won 22 or 23 games on the road. So this is where it's going to be interesting of how you figure that in of, you got one team who's really good on the road, but not great at home, but you got a team who's fantastic at home, but not so great on the road. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. The thing for the Canes is they got to figure out how to limit their special teams, because while they're 25th on the power play and first on the penalty kill, here's the problem. New Jersey's 3rd on the power play, 4th in the penalty kill. That's going to be a massive dynamic of basically not giving them the opportunity to go on special teams, because the Hurricanes in goals for and against, they're 8th in both categories. New Jersey, I think they're 17th or 16th in goals for, or no, I think it's like 20th, somewhere around there. But they're like top 10 in goals allowed. So it's one of those things where you still have the opportunity to stifle a team who's not fantastic on the 5-on-5. So if you stick to your game plan of more even strength hockey, that could go a long way for the Canes in this one.
And then when you think about last year in the playoffs too, special teams sputtered out in that Rangers series, and that was kind of a big factor. So that you touched on it right there. Depending on whose special teams is hot at the right time, may be a big factor in this series. Anyone specifically for the Canes that you think is going to have a breakout series, has had success versus the Devils, that you think is really going to outperform even what they've done in the regular season?
Well, I mean, you can't overlook Jordan Martinook and what he did 2 years ago when he got up over 10 points against the Devils. Will he do it again? I don't know. Maybe kind of fun to see that kind of, circle back and, let's play back the classics. But if you're talking about a guy who's going to have a breakout, I would say watch out for Jackson Blake. 17 goals on the season. He's having a great rookie year. I would expect him to take it to another level, especially for his first playoff phase with Aho and Jarvis. Who knows? He could be very sneaky. I would even look at Logan Stankoven. Yeah, he's with the Jordans, but this is a series where he can really use his bulldog mentality to kind of, force his way into it. Also, too, watch out for Eric Robinson. Career year in goals, assists, and points. He's been working well with Mark Jankowski. Who's to say that maybe even Eric Robinson can't get a little of that magic touch that we usually see in the playoffs, where some guy you would never think of might pop off for the Canes.
And staying on kind of Canes players being hot, going to put you on the spot. Who are we putting out there in the goal? Who's starting in crease? Who are you riding with? Are you going every other? Do you have one guy above the other? I know this would be a big topic in Canes land for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look at it, because the last 2 seasons, every time Frederick Anderson's come back, you've seen it, Rich. It's more of like it's that switch off. They flip-flop them back and forth all regular season. It could be for 20 games. It could be a lot longer. But then you go to the playoffs, and it's one guy. Last year was Frederick Anderson. Kochetkov saw one game in round 2. Now is the game 3 where they lost in overtime to the Rangers, go down 3-0 in the series. Recently, both goalies have struggled a little bit, but I will give them the caveat of the team has also not been great in front of them as well. You're talking 1-4-1 going into Montreal. Yes, they've had to rest some guys. Yes, some guys were out. I would say even the Kings game did not really help Piotr in that fact, because I think he got in his head, and of course the team hasn't really played great in front of him either. So it's kind of a tough spot to be in, where it's like, okay, who do you want to go with? Because both goalies have gotten tagged as of late for at least 4 or 5 goals. Like, I would say I guess you would say maybe Freddie would be that guy, but if Piotr's your guy for the next 2 seasons, because he is under contract next year in the following season, and Freddie is not, and if he's possibly out the window, I say go with Piotr and see how you do for the first couple games, and if you ever go to Freddie, that's fine as well. Or maybe we finally see a team who's willing to take that chance of flip-flopping them back and forth, because they've done it all regular season. Why not just do it for the playoffs at that point? What's really a difference? But I would say if you have to, just because of the sake of the now and the future, I think you have to give Pierre that shot, because, I mean, he's going to have to do it next year as the 1A. Might as well just do it now. So
you hope that he rises to the occasion, especially with the guys in front of him playing up to the occasion, with it being the playoffs, more on the line rather than a random Thursday or whatever. If you have to fly all the way out to California, hopefully it's a little different considering it's the playoffs and what's on the line.
Yeah, definitely need a lot more 60 minutes of Canes hockey, a little bit better on the 50-50 battles, not giving the other team too many opportunities and leaving them out to dry. Because, I mean, we saw it against Buffalo. Like nothing you can do when your defense gives the other team a fantastic shot at a PK opportunity, and, you know, a lot of turnovers and lackadaisical play. A goalie can only do so much with the team in front of him. So, yeah, if Piotr wants to have a great series, he's going to have to make sure that the team in front of him doesn't leave him to dry like we've seen over the last few starts. So it's not just the goalies. It's got to be everyone pulling their weight for full 60 two-way hockey that we all know the Hurricanes can do.
It'll definitely need to be a full team effort, and we just went down the roster of the Canes. Switching gears a little bit to the Devils, is there anyone on the Devils that you're keeping an eye out for that may be a difference maker for them?
I would say look out for Jesper Bratt. He's another one of those guys who is that Seth Jarvis, Sebastian Aho. He will kill you on the PK. Like, if you're talking power kills that we've talked about with the Hurricanes, Jesper Bratt is one of those power kill guys for the Devils. Don't overlook Nico Hischier. Eric Halla, as of late, has somehow figured out how to play his game once again. So, and you know, he always gets up for the Canes because he's got a bug up his butt about this team for whatever reason that it is. So definitely someone to watch out for. And look at goaltending, man. You're talking about Markstrom and Allen, who have kind of struggled as of late. Markstrom just came back from injury, but it's Markstrom. You know, you can never really count out a guy like that who's been there and done that in the playoffs. Maybe it's not the greatest success that we've seen in the past, but definitely a guy who can go out there and steal a couple games if necessary. So I definitely watch out for Markstrom. But if you're looking at a forward that could be a big issue, Jesper Bratt might be that guy.
Okay, definitely going to keep an eye out for him. Hopefully, Rod and the gang has a game plan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know they do. Yeah, you know they do.
So, with all those things said, everything we talked about with the Canes, everything we talked about with the Devils, what are your series predictions? Do the Devils push it far? Is it pretty easy for the Canes? How are we feeling about this series?
Well, it's funny. We'll just do a little bit of a history thing real quick. The Hurricanes, the last 4 times they faced the Devils in the playoffs, going back to 2002, 06, 09, and 23, they've beaten them all 4 times. I mean, they're 4 or 5 in their last 5 meetings. So is maybe on their side? Possibly, yeah, but, you know, things change. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I think with the Devils of not having one of the Hughes, I think it's Jack Hughes, he's not in. You know, some guys are coming back a little bit banged up. They've been playing very sub 500 hockey as of late. A lot of people are kind of looking at this team of like, can they figure it out? And, you know, it's, you know, the Hurricanes aren't really playing the greatest either, but they've also, we all know they're kind of holding out a little bit to guys that are, you know, injured, getting some rest and stuff like that. But I think the Devils will make it an interesting series. I don't see it going 7. Because, I mean, Game 6 would put you back in Jersey, which they've done before. I mean, they did it, you know, they've won there before. But if we're looking at it in a way, Canes in 5.
Canes in 5. There we have it. To your point, it'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about it more in the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Just in terms of the home team has won every game this year. So I'm sure home ice will hold true, and hopefully the Canes don't need to push it to that questionable game 6 and then game 7. But
yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, when you're looking at a 2-2 series and the Hurricanes outscored them 13-12, yeah, it's basically right down the middle. It's just who's going to turn it on and get hot at the right time with, the playoffs. Basically mere days from now, because when you're talking, whenever this comes out, maybe the regular season is done, or we're about ready to finish it against Ottawa on Thursday. So should be very interesting when the first round kind of starts too. So
that it will, Zach. We appreciate you jumping on again as a guest for all of Zach's full coverage. He is everywhere. Hockey Writers, Locked On Hurricanes, if you want his full coverage of everything. And we're back. Thanks to Zach for jumping on as a guest, technically. How about that? Getting kicked off of his own show. But we appreciate
Not kicked off when you're too busy.
But we appreciate his insight on the series as well. So hopefully y'all have enjoyed the overview of Canes Devils. But Kat, let's jump into the rest of the playoff series real quick. Just give our quick instant reaction predictions on who we think are going to win each of the series. So we're going to start over in the East.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it at the beginning. I guess start with the Battle of Ontario.
Yeah. Who you got? Leafs versus Senators.
So I'm conflicted because if I was to write this like really fun, I would really want the Senators and the Panthers to get through, because then you'd have the Kachucks playing each other and beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
But I think the Leafs get that. I think the Leafs for that one.
I agree with you. They've just played so well, and I feel like they've been on a heater lately, and I think that carries over into the playoffs.
And they have good goaltending.
As well. Yep. Continuing in the Atlantic, Battle of Florida, Lightning, Panthers. Who do you got there?
This one's a little bit of a toss-up because a lot of people, like the Lightning, have played really well. And a lot of people are taking note that they are back in their really most strong era. And the Panthers, Kachuk is back, and you're finally going to see Kachuk and Marchand on the same team. So this one's actually, I think this is one going to go to 7 games for sure. I don't know. It might be the Lightning for me on this one.
Yeah, Paul Maurice did say everyone is available for the Panthers, but I think Kachuk not playing for a while, the chemistry isn't there fully. I know Marchand's kind of been in and out the lineup a little bit, if I'm correct. He hasn't played every single game since being traded. I just don't know if the chemistry will be there. I have the Lightning as well. And then Caps, Canadians. Do we have an upset? Or are we going to put the crying thing to the Caps? Nope.
I don't think so. I think the Caps get through this. Unfortunately, I just don't know if the Canadians have the extra bit that it takes. Considering how hard it was for them to even just get into playoffs, I'm a little concerned. I don't know if they will have an upset. I think they might push some games with the Capitals, but I think the Capitals will come out of it.
Yeah, it depends when the magic stops for the Caps, because like the Canes,
it's kind of stopped a little bit towards the end, but also it started to be around the time when games stopped mattering. So
correct, yes. Like the Canes, like the Devils, there's been nothing to play for. Ovi reached the record for goals. So I'll throw out a hot take. Why not? Why not have the Canadians? Have it be absolutely electric. Right. The magic runs out for the Caps.
Yep.
That is my hot take there. Moving over to the West, Winnipeg versus St. Louis. President's Trophy curse hit now? Does it hit later?
Of the 2 teams going out of the regular season, the Blues are on the heater. The Blues were the ones that were on the heater. I think they might do an upset.
This is where it happens. Wow. I disagree with you on that. The Jets are a wagon. I think the curse may hit later in the playoffs. It does not happen round one, in my
Okay.
opinion. But there we go. Split on that series. Oh, the one that everyone's going to be tuning for. Dallas, Colorado.
Give me Colorado. Give me Colorado. Send Nico
Avs.
back to his very fancy house in Dallas that he wanted to live in so badly. Give me
Avs.
Colorado.
Shout out to Bailey for this one. Avs sweep. I don't know if she has it or not, but I'll say Avs sweep. They did lose Robertson too. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know how long he's out for, but that is a
That's a
big
dagger.
blow to them. So you're gonna have Nico be the guy? Come on. Get out of here with that
They
one.
did get Sagan back, though. They did get Sagan
Okay.
back, which is good for them. But
Yeah. Avs for personal reasons. I'm pulling for the Avs.
I think it'll
on
be a
that
hard series, but I think the Avs.
Yeah. Moving on, we got Vegas versus Minnesota.
Vegas. I think Vegas
Yeah.
smacked Minnesota. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I think Kaprizov, he's having an MVP season to start the year, but then that injury threw things off a little bit. Good on them for keeping that momentum to get into the wild card. But yes, I agree with you. Vegas wins that one.
Mhm.
And like you said, Taylor's oldest time. Kings Oilers. Is it the history repeating itself? Or we got a new script coming up?
I think the Kings might take this one. They have been the better team for the past couple months, and Draisaitl and McDavid have been injured for quite a while, and now they're coming back, but they're kind of like touch and go. I'm gonna say the Kings.
I want to say the Kings for all those same reasons because they've been unexpectedly dominant the series, especially versus Carolina, but just in general. I can never bet against Connor McDavid early in the playoffs, though, not just for the Kings Oilers series reasons. Best player in hockey. I'll take the best player in hockey until he proves me wrong. So I'm going to go the Oilers with
Okay.
this one. But we're going to be tuned in because like we just listed it off. There are so many good series.
We are a hockey house.
Yes. So I know y'all are going to be tuned in not only to Carolina, New Jersey, but all the series coming up. Hope you all found this episode very insightful. We are so excited for playoff hockey to finally be here. And anything else to add on this episode, Kat?
Nope. Thanks so much for tuning in. Playoff hockey is back, baby. And hopefully we'll see some of you for that round one, game one in Raleigh. It's a weird time, but hey, what better way to spend your Easter Sunday than with the boys?
Loosen up the shoulder for those towels, Kat. Got to keep the shoulder loose as we start to wave them around again.
Of course. I will again, Neil said it, but if it's going to be really hard for the Devils to take a game in Carolina and playoff hockey because the Canes show out, the fans show out. It's about to be rocking in Lenovo. Let's go, Canes. We'll see you next time on the Surgecast.
Go Canes!
Go, Canes.